This program is sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.
Coming up today on the RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Today, we'll identify some of the key strategies to help you minimize your taxes, preserve your wealth, and help ensure that your wishes are carried out. Plus, you'll learn actionable steps that you can take to start working toward a lasting legacy for your loved ones. The RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace starts right now.
Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group has been helping families in our area plan for a successful retirement. Chris strives to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your retirement goals, creating income in retirement, maximizing your savings, and minimizing taxes. Chris has the strategies you need to help you sustain a successful retirement. Welcome to the RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Chris Wallace, financial advisor and certified financial planner professional. You know, it's easy to make assumptions about what goes into a legacy plan, right? But Chris is going to help us clear things up on our show today as we dive into the basics of creating a legacy plan for your family. So, all right, Chris, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's very important to recognize the importance of this in an overall plan. Talk about creating a legacy.
Yeah, it's real passionate to a lot of families because you're talking about passing on assets to family. So it's real important to a lot of people. So the first thing I would say is I think a husband and wife should identify what type of legacy they want to leave. And then make sure you have the proper legal documents in place. And the other thing that we've talked about quite a bit is surrounding yourself with a team of people to help you get that done. And that could be a certified financial planner, an estate planning attorney, it could be a CPA. That's kind of what we call the dream team. Estate planning attorney, CFP, CPA. And then you're kind of covered. You have people working in your best interest to help you carry out those goals. So
how do you talk to your clients about the legacy part of their overall retirement plan? I mean, you know, the 4 points that you bring up are, you know, retirement income, investments, tax strategies, and then estate and legacy planning. So that last one.
Yeah, so the last one is, you know, as far as the legal documents, making sure that you have the proper legal documents in place so that things can transfer out accordingly. The other thing that you have to think about is there's tax implications upon transfer in a lot of cases. So for example, if you have an IRA, a large IRA, you're going to transfer it over to the kids and they're going to have to pay taxes within 10 years. They're going to have all of that money transitioned out of that IRA and all the taxes paid. So understanding what that looks like, and do we introduce post-death some other type of vehicle that can assist the children in paying those taxes? Is that some sort of a trust? Is that a life insurance policy to kind of help them pay the tax? So maybe the parents take a life insurance policy out to give them tax-free money to turn around and pay the tax versus them doing a Roth conversion. So there's a lot of different strategies there. It's just about really trying to identify what's best for that family based upon their goals.
So, I mean, you've kind of talked around it, but talk about the benefits of having that strategic legacy plan.
Yeah, so first of all, if you do not have your legal documents in place, and I've seen this before in my own client base where family members will kind of, you know, let's just call it bicker over the assets, and mom or dad didn't set this straight, and this was in the will, but this was on the named beneficiary. So let's go through some real basics here. It's real important that every place you have to name a beneficiary that you have one named. So that would be your IRAs, your 401ks, your bank accounts. People forget about bank accounts. Your TOD, your joint accounts, all of those types of accounts need to have a named beneficiary. The reason for that is if the will says one thing, but the named beneficiary says another, the named beneficiary is where the money's going. So that named beneficiary is really important. The will you need to have in place because that will tell the assets where to go at death. The will's going to have to be probated. Now, a will doesn't keep things private, and the will also is subject to being contested. So now you can still have people kind of go back and forth over things, but that'll happen during the probate process. To get around that, then you want to start talking about a potential trust. Now again, these are all questions for the estate attorney,
sure,
and it's their ball game. But I'm just saying there are clean ways to make sure that things go to your heirs the way you want them to. Because once you're gone, you won't be able to say, hey, that was supposed to go to Johnny or Susie. You won't have that
and
opportunity.
no one can come ask you either.
No, then the courts are probably going to help decide. So it's real important you have that real clearly laid out. And then I think you do have to look, I talked a little bit about the tax side of things. I really think you have to consider the taxes because in some cases, kids are going to inherit a large account. They may be subject to taxes. So you want to make sure that all of that is being set up right. Again, surround yourself with a CPA, a CFP, and an estate planning attorney. So all three of those individuals can be working in concert for your best interest.
And another thing is charitable giving, right? That's something that you need to make sure and take care of ahead of time.
For sure. I mean, some families want to leave some to charity.
Right.
So we want to make sure that that's not necessarily in the will. You want to make sure that's probably part of the named beneficiary process or part of the trust. It's real important to understand that you want to give your least tax efficient money to the charity. And so let me make an example. We know that IRAs, traditional IRAs, pre-tax IRAs are taxable if we take it out, right? So we want that type of money to go to the charity because they don't pay taxes.
Then there's no taxes.
Right, because I've seen situations before where I'll make an example where maybe a family has a what's called an after-tax brokerage account, a joint with rights or survivorship account. Those accounts have securities in them, and at death, those are inherited at a stepped-up value or stepped-up basis. So the kids get that at a stepped-up basis. The IRA, they're still going to owe taxes on. Well, in a situation I may have seen before, the individual had a lot of the after-tax money going to the charity and not the IRA. And I just made a simple suggestion to help them out. I was just, hey, let's flip those and let's send the taxable money to the charity and let's send the stepped-up basis money to the kids.
There you go.
It kind of solves that. So just having somebody around that kind of looks at that kind of stuff is I think helpful to a lot of families, Lou. And again, we call it the dream team, CFP, estate planning attorney, CFP. You've got those people around you helping you make those decisions because stuff that I look at on a daily basis, it's with somebody, another brokerage firm or somebody, but they weren't trained. I don't know if they weren't trained or they just weren't in tune with it or whatever, but they didn't see that example I just gave.
Passed on, Yeah,
and that's a quick fix. That's an easy one.
Okay, very good. Thank you for these insights. Always good. But we're not done. Coming up next, some of the top legacy planning mistakes that you want to try to avoid. And then later, Chris is in the hot seat for Retirement IQ. Stay tuned.
Are you a federal employee facing early retirement offers from programs like FERA, VSIP, or DRP? Before you make any decisions, call 615-265-1778 to schedule a free discovery session with WG Financial Group. WG Financial Group can help you navigate changes to federal retirement programs. It's your retirement. Know where you stand. Visit WGFinancialGroup.com or call 615-265-1778 to schedule your session today.
How many times in your life do you make $1 million decision? For some of you, that's exactly what Social Security is. Hi, I'm Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group. When you go through and do the math, the average Social Security payment adds up to more than $700,000 over 30 years. If you're married and you double that number, now you're talking well over $1 million. So doesn't it make sense to talk to someone who can help you decide the appropriate time to start taking your benefits? Call us and schedule your complimentary discovery session today. Did you know that taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement? No one can avoid taxes completely, but with the appropriate strategies in place, you could potentially reduce your taxes in retirement. With a plan to help you protect your retirement savings from higher taxes, that's just more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. At WG Financial Group, helping people like you optimize taxes in retirement is what we do. Call us to schedule your complimentary discovery session today.
I'm here with Chris Wallace, financial advisor, certified financial planner, professional, and founder of WG Financial Group. Chris, today we're helping our viewers understand the importance of creating a legacy plan for your retirement and your family. What are some of the missteps we should try to avoid with our legacy plan?
I think legal documents, let's kind of talk about those for a second. So when we're talking about legal documents, an important document is a power of attorney. So I'll give a personal example. I have children that are in college. So they're of age of majority, so they can make their own decisions, and I can no longer make decisions for them. So when they went off to college, I made sure that we had powers of attorney and HIPAA waivers. In case something happened to them at college, then I can make decisions, or my wife can make decisions for them.
Right.
Now, it's a pretty easy conversation with them at 20 years old where, we're paying for your college and your car, sign these documents. If you have a 35 or 37-year-old single, maybe divorced child, it's a different conversation, but it's still the same conversation. Mm-hmm. It's different in the fact that they're like a full-grown adult, and you're telling them that you want to have a document where you can make decisions for them. But in reality, what you're trying to do is protect in case they become incapacitated or can't make decisions, that you have that way to help them out, especially if they're single or divorced. Who's going to make decisions for them?
Right.
Now, if they go in for like surgery at a hospital or whatever, they're going to sign probably a power of attorney there. But if they have an accident and they go into the hospital, you'll have to go through the process of obtaining that power of attorney, and it just makes things a lot cleaner. You can also, and again, these are questions for the estate planning attorney, I'm just bringing awareness to
Sure.
it, but you can also do what's called a springing power of attorney. So it kind of springs into action under those circumstances where if your son or daughter's like, hey, I don't want you, in my business and being able to make decisions, well, you can do a springing power of attorney. And again, these are questions for the estate planning attorney, but these are just a couple of examples. Again, one of them is personal to me because I have kids who are age of majority, and we put legal documents in place there. We've also done our own legal documents. So my wife and I have our legal documents updated. We have a trust set aside, and we have it set up, so that it disperses the assets how we want it to. And that way everything's nice and clean, and then I don't have people arguing over, assets, and it goes right to where they're supposed to go.
Right. Okay, so we're talking about missteps. Tell us more on how we can avoid them.
Yeah, so I think it starts with a plan. In our process, we do the income first, investments, tax efficient strategies, and then we kind of dive back into that estate planning. So it really starts with a plan. And Lou Ann, it's a difficult conversation. I will never forget the day that we updated ours. My wife the night before was like, Chris, we must sit down and do this. We must sit down and do this. She had to basically pin me down because, it's a lot of questions, you got to answer. Mm-hmm. And this has to go there and here and all these things that you have to fill out. It's a lot of homework, if you will. But it's worth it because it's peace of mind. That way, when you travel, you go out of the country, you don't have to worry because all of that legal is set up. If something happens and you don't have those documents in place, it's not good. It's not good at all because there's probate involved in some cases. If you don't have named beneficiaries on file, things have to be liquidated quicker. They take longer to go through probate. It's just kind of a nightmare. So I just encourage all the viewers, especially at any age, really. We deal mostly with the pre-retiree and the retiree, but at any age, make sure your legal documents are updated. That way you're not dealing with this, or your kids aren't dealing with this, or your beneficiaries aren't dealing with it at death.
Talk about the importance of understanding the tax consequences of our financial decisions.
Yeah, so if you have, let's take a pre-taxed IRA. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Mm-hmm. So if you have a large pre-taxed IRA, let's say somebody has $2 million in a pre-taxed IRA, okay? That IRA is going to pass on to the kids, and we know the kids in 10 years are going to have to pay the tax on it. So give a little bit of nugget of information here that might help some people out. One of the strategies post-death might be to set up what's called a charitable remainder trust. And in a situation like that, instead of the IRA stretching out 10 years, the IRA can actually stretch out as much as 20 years, okay? 10% of that has to go to charity, and your normal estate attorney may not know how to do these. That's just, we have a network of referrals that we work with that if we find that that's an avenue we want to refer or to recommend, then we'll make a referral out for something like that. But you can essentially put that big IRA in a charitable remainder trust, and we can stretch that out over 20 years. It's kind of a tax strategy to help the beneficiaries out because now they don't have to pull it out in 10, they can pull it out over 20. The other thing that we have to be aware of is in that same conversation of inheriting an IRA, if mom or dad has reached their minimum distribution age, and they've started taking RMDs, when the kids get it, they have to start taking RMDs too. And then again, by the end of the 10th year. So you really need to have conversation around that. That's just the legacy part of it, and really understand what are the goals for the family. Some families might say, hey, they get $2 million, they got 10 years to pay the taxes, I don't really care. The other family might say, hey, I'm charitable, and I want some of my money to go to charity. And if they really think about the math behind it, if it's in a charitable remainder trust and it stretches out over 20 years, the kid's probably going to get more money anyway, because now you got 20 years for it to kind of grow inside that trust. So there's some strings there. You need to understand it's a complicated setup, but it's a viable strategy for some families, and it's one that we can kind of mention for large IRAs.
I know sometimes when parents give money away, I remember my dad did that to my sisters and I. Well, is there a limit on that right now?
19,000.
19,000.
Right. And so let's talk about the IRA again. If you pulled 19 out of the IRA to give to Johnny or Susie, you're going to pay taxes on the 19 when you pull it out. You're not going to pay taxes on the gifting. You can give up to $19,000 a year without having to file any gift tax paperwork, and it's $19,000 per person.
Okay, good.
So
per
you
person.
might have Johnny's got a wife and Susie's got a husband. You can give 19, 19, 19, 19. So 38 to each couple, because it's a per person thing. Now you go over that, I think it's gift tax form 702 they have to fill out. And you have to report that, and that just goes against your lifetime exclusion, which is 13.99 million. I'm not there.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I don't think I have to worry about that ever. Thank you so much again. And straight ahead, Chris is in the hot seat for Retirement IQ. And later, what are some of the simple, actionable steps that you can take to help improve your financial future today? Chris has your checklist challenge, so stay with us.
Are you a federal employee facing early retirement offers from programs like FERA, VSIP, or DRP? Before you make any decisions, call 615-265-1778 to schedule a free discovery session with WG Financial Group. WG Financial Group can help you navigate changes to federal retirement programs. It's your retirement. Know where you stand. Visit WGFinancialGroup.com or call 615-265-1778 to schedule your session today.
If you're worried about higher prices in retirement and you're worried about losing too much of your money in the stock market, I think you've got enough to worry about. Hi, I'm Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group. If the thought of losing too much of your retirement savings in the market is keeping you up at night, I can help. My team can review your portfolio and help you identify any changes that could be made to help you feel more confident about your money. Don't stay up all night worrying about your retirement. Call us and schedule your complimentary discovery session today. Did you know that taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement? No one can avoid taxes completely, but with the appropriate strategies in place, you could potentially reduce your taxes in retirement. With a plan to help you protect your retirement savings from higher taxes, that's just more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. At WG Financial Group, helping people like you optimize taxes in retirement is what we do. Call us to schedule your complimentary discovery session today. How many times in your life do you make $1 million decision? For some of you, that's exactly what Social Security is. Hi, I'm Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group. When you go through and do the math, the average Social Security payment adds up to more than $700,000 over 30 years. If you're married and you double that number, now you're talking well over $1 million. So doesn't it make sense to talk to someone who can help you decide the appropriate time to start taking your benefits? Call us and schedule your complimentary discovery session today.
And now it's time to put our knowledge to the test with this week's Retirement IQ. You ready for this, Chris?
Let's do it.
Okay, since we've been talking about creating a legacy plan, that's going to be our topic of our trivia today, okay? Legacy planning. Okay, so number one, 13 states levy an estate tax. Name just one of them.
So they're mostly northern states or out west, and I think Hawaii is one of them, so that's one. But the one I was going to mention is actually Minnesota. As you know, I'm a big Minnesota Viking fan.
Yes.
Sadly. But so I know Minnesota levies an estate tax, so that'll be one. Hawaii is the other one. And there's quite a few other northern states.
Connecticut, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington State, and Washington, D.C.
Northern states.
Yeah, like you said. Okay. Question number two, what size of a state triggers the federal state tax?
It's a large number today, and that number will sunset back to around 7 million at the end of 2025, but right now, today, it's 13.99.
It is set to sunset back?
Yeah, it's with the part of the Tax Cuts.
Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
That's going to reset or sunset back at the end of 2025 if nothing's done.
Okay.
So it's about 14 million today.
Wow.
So a couple actually has 28 million because you can use something called portability in a couple situation. So it's 28 million. I know you're going to be over that.
Oh, gosh.
So, and it's
We're going to
really
owe a lot of taxes there, Chris.
yeah, and it's 18 to 40%. So it's kind of
gosh.
a laddered tax
Okay.
there on the estate side of things, but it's up to 40% as of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot.
Okay. Yeah. Well, question number 3. Do you have to take a required minimum distribution if you inherit an IRA from a parent?
Yeah, so this is a little bit complex. We talked a little bit about inherited IRAs earlier, and when we talk about inherited IRAs, if your parents have reached the required minimum distribution age and they're pulling required minimums, you have to continue taking.
Okay, you have to start right in the year they die. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
You have to start taking it, and then of course you have to have it all taken out by the end of the 10th year. But you have to start taking minimum distribution. You have to continue that. You can't stop it. If they haven't started, then you have a window where you don't have to pull, but you still have the 10-year window that you have to pull it all out.
Okay.
So it's pretty complex. It's real important. I've seen a lot of mistakes throughout my career where I've seen a situation where the bank actually did not offer an inherited IRA to the individual. So they could have had 10 years, but instead just issued a check. And of course, they had to pay all of the income tax on that because once it's done, you can't reverse it. You can't.
Oh, no.
No, you can't reverse
I wonder why
it.
the bank did that.
Inexperience, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, just being
wow.
honest. So there's no way to kind of reverse it. So you need to be careful when death occurs, especially when it involves mom or dad and there's IRA money involved. It's important to have a strategy for that because that's where I've seen a lot of mistakes.
I can see that. So definitely get some guidance in that.
Yeah, and
right?
you want to pull the RMDs also because there's penalties if you don't. And they're pretty
Right.
steep. They're pretty steep penalties.
Right. Okay. Good point. Okay. Next question. What are the current exclusions for the federal annual gift tax?
So something we touched on a few seconds ago in the last segment. Actually, it's the gift, how much you can gift away without tax, right?
Right.
So $19,000 into
And that's per person.
2025.
It
Per
can be
person.
more than one person.
Correct.
Okay.
And I just kind of want to elaborate a little bit more on that since we kind of touched on it in the previous segment. So if you give $19,000 in cash away, you can do that, and it's per person, as we said. If you pull out of the IRA, you pay taxes. We talked about that, right? Yeah. You don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to give stock away.
Right.
Because if you give stock away, you lose the step up in basis. So like, let's just say, for example, you have, I don't know, $19,000 of Apple stock that you want to give away. Well, that's not a good thing to give away to them because they're going to lose that step up. It'd be better to die with that so they receive it at death. It's stepped up.
Sure.
It's better to give them the cash.
Okay.
The other thing too that I kind of wanted to mention on that, even if you go over the $19,000, you fill out the gift tax form, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to pay the tax on it. Again, it just goes towards that exclusion. So if you gave $50,000 away, that's $31,000 over $19,000, so $31,000 over. Then you got roughly $14 million as your gift tax exclusion, so it'd be $14 million minus $30,000. It just goes against that number.
Okay.
So it's good for people to know that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you for your experience and your wisdom.
Yep, you're welcome.
100% again on these. Still to come, you're going to learn some of the simple steps that you can take today to help you start crafting your legacy plan. After all, how useful is knowledge without action? Stay tuned.
Are you a federal employee facing early retirement offers from programs like FERA, VSIP, or DRP? Before you make any decisions, call 615-265-1778 to schedule a free discovery session with WG Financial Group. WG Financial Group can help you navigate changes to federal retirement programs. It's your retirement. Know where you stand. Visit WGFinancialGroup.com or call 615-265-1778 to schedule your session today.
Did you know that taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement? No one can avoid taxes completely, but with the appropriate strategies in place, you could potentially reduce your taxes in retirement. With a plan to help you protect your retirement savings from higher taxes, that's just more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. At WG Financial Group, helping people like you optimize taxes in retirement is what we do. Call us to schedule your complimentary discovery session today.
Thank you for joining us today on the RITE Retirement Show. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer, and this has been such an important conversation that we've had today on creating a legacy plan for your family. You know, we learn so much from you every single time we do this show, so I thank you so much for that. And we all know, you know, as the saying goes, knowledge is power.
Sure, absolutely, unless it's not applied.
Right. We have to apply the knowledge. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So I think some of the takeaways for today's show are to really look at your legal documents and make sure they're up to date. If your legal documents haven't been updated, I would say probably somewhere between 4 and 6 years, it's time to get those looked over. I've had people tell me, hey, Chris, nothing's changed. I'm like, yeah, but the laws may have. So you may want to make sure your legal documents are still compliant with the laws today. So just get those looked at. Understand the types of accounts that you have would be a second takeaway that I would have. So what type of accounts do you have? What's the taxation at death? How does that, you know, hit your beneficiaries? And then I can't stress it enough, just get those beneficiaries updated on all of your accounts. Make sure you've got the right beneficiaries on every account. And then the named beneficiary is very, very important. So we want to make sure that we have that. The other thing that I would say is important here that this idea came from one of my clients, and it's real funny actually. It's kind of morbid sounding, but she calls it the dead book.
Oh, I love it. I know what you're going to say.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
I love this, yes.
So she's got a book that happens
when I die.
When I die, right? Yeah. So her beneficiaries know when they go through that book who the financial planner is, the estate attorney, the CPA, and all the accounts. And I'm flipping through an imaginary book right here because she brought it in one day and she's like, "This is my dead book." And I was like, "Wow, that is a great idea."
I know.
Because now everybody knows. So if you haven't put together one of those, maybe consider that, or at least some sort of a binder or some sort of a box or a safe where you've got all of this stuff, you know, for your surviving spouse or your kids. I've run into situations before where the wife can't get into the husband's computer because she don't have his passwords. Okay, so make sure all that stuff's available because you have to go chasing accounts. You want to know the password so you know if there's money in those types of accounts. In our process, Luann, this is all part of that RITE process, the estate and legacy planning. Some of this stuff I'm not paid for, and that's okay. But it's my job as a CFP to ask questions about the family. It's my job to make sure, to the best of my ability, that there are no kind of loopholes or leaks in the foundation or cracks in the foundation, if you will. And that's why I ask some of these questions and kind of point out things on legal. I don't give them legal advice. I ask questions, and if it's not in place, I refer them out to a legal estate attorney, or if they already work with somebody, hey, go get them to tidy things up. Just take care of your legacy planning.
Exactly. I love this. So thank you so much for all of this advice here. And you do it all from going into retirement to, you know, your last days going through. So thank you so much. It can be tempting to put off some of the important decisions that go into your legacy plan. Chris and his team are here to help guide you through it. For Chris and the team at WG Financial Group, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
This program is sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.